As an ambitious, hardworking professional, I'm always asking myself, what's next? I wanted to gain the knowledge and expertise to propel my career and become a leader in my field. So I pursued a graduate degree at Mona School of Business and Management.
Whether you're making the change to a new career or looking to move ahead in your current career, success is within your reach, and we can help you get there. Master your future with Mona School of Business and Management, the Caribbean's premier business school. We offer a diverse suite of globally competitive graduate degrees, including the internationally accredited MBA. As part of the University of the West Indies, ranked in the top 1.5% of universities worldwide, MSBM can provide the skills, knowledge, and expertise you need to master your career development and take charge of your future. Apply online for a graduate degree today. Global Knowledge, Regional Solutions.
Hi, and welcome to the Mona School of Business and Management's virtual graduate program information session. I am Indiana Minto-Coy. I am going to be guiding you through today's program. We're also streaming live to Facebook and YouTube. So a special welcome to our audience on these platforms. Welcome to the members of our team from the MSBM who will be assisting in providing a seamless experience for you today. Of course, these include colleagues from our marketing team, our team of graduate coordinators, IT, the finance department, and of course, key members of the school's management team. We understand that you have many options, and so we are indeed pleased, we're delighted, and we're grateful that you have taken the time to join us today. We invite you, as we go along, to relax. Feel free to share your questions via the Q&A for those of you who are on Zoom. Note too that we have members of our team on Facebook and YouTube, namely Mrs. Dawn Morgan, who is on YouTube, and Mr. Stephen Henderson is on Facebook. They're ready and they're able and willing to answer any questions that you may have in relation to our programs or any of the material that's going to be covered in the session. So please do share in the comments section as well. So our aim in this session is to allow you an opportunity to get an up-close view, an up-close look of the Mona School of Business and Management, the premier business school of choice in the Caribbean. We aim also in this session to introduce you to our suite of graduate programs, to allow you an opportunity to meet some of the members of our team, and importantly, to offer you an opportunity to pose questions you may have regarding our programs. Many of you may have started your applications. Many of you may still be in doubt about which program you want to apply to. And so we hope through this session, you will be able to make your decision. Without further ado, the invitation, the task of welcoming you is not quite mine. I want to welcome our Executive Director, Dr. David McBean, who's going to be giving you the official welcome to this session. Of course, Dr. McBean requires no deep introduction. He has had an illustrious career in the public and private sectors. And of course, he was a Rhodes Scholar. So he's well able to lead us, and I dare say to bring this note of welcome to you today. Dr. McBean.
Okay, thank you so much, Indiana, and good evening, colleagues and staff of MSBM, and a special welcome to those of you who are our prospective students. As Indiana said, education is a competitive affair, so we never take it for granted that you will come to us. I think, however, that MSBM presents a wonderful choice, and it presents a great opportunity for you to come to one of the premier business schools in the Caribbean, and I dare say globally. And we say that because we are accredited, and accreditation is a very big thing for us because it gives an independent view of who we are and what we do. So we have programs which are ranked highly by Ed Universal in Latin America and the Caribbean. Some of them are in the top 20, and you'll hear about that later. Or flagship MBA programs are also accredited by AMBO. And AMBO is one of the top 3 accrediting institutions, along with ICIS and AACSB. So you're in good hands. We have great faculty. A lot of us trained at you to begin with, but we've gone all over the world. So you name a top university globally, whether it's Canadian, US, UK, Australian, or elsewhere. So there are people from University of Toronto, McGill, Cambridge, Oxford, etc., etc. So we combine to give you a world-class education here. Also, the UWI is now ranked in the top 1.5% of all universities in the world. And the business school is a big part of that ranking. So we don't stand alone. We're an integral part of the UWI system. And that is why we proudly accept you for graduate programs, knowing full well that we're continuing a stellar tradition of world-class education. Many of you will be graduates of the UWI. We welcome you back. We also know that we have other outstanding students from other tertiary institutions locally and overseas, and we welcome you as well. We're here to, as Indiana said, to provide a guide to how to complete your application, to answer your outstanding questions, and to reassure you that you've done the right thing. Getting an education at MSBM provides a springboard for your corporate launch or your entrepreneurial journey. It is no accident, for example, that this year we have featured one of the top CEOs in the country, Audrey Togwell Henry, who would have gone through this process some years before, just like you're doing now, and has used this education to springboard her to a really amazing career. So I look forward to seeing many of you joining us in the future, and the future being August, for our new cohort. We can assure you as well that we're ready for anything. We're happy that the pandemic seems to have eased. I won't put a hex by saying anything else other than eased. But we have trained to teach you whether it's online or face-to-face. And so we are anticipating a return primarily face-to-face for a new cohort, but we are also prepared should it become necessary to teach online. So welcome to the MSBM. Thank you very much for applying, and we look forward to welcoming you back in August. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Matt Bean, our Executive Director, for those kind words of welcome and also sage advice. Dr. Matt Bean mentioned the fact that you find many of our graduates in top professions across Jamaica and beyond. So this is an excellent training ground for those of you wishing to upskill, to retrain, recertify. This is an excellent choice. I want to now move on to one of the important presentations in the session, and that is the overview of our programs, which will be given by Professor Lila Rao Graham, who is the Deputy Executive Director with responsibility for the MBA, MBM, Diploma, and the DBA programs here at the MSBM. But before Professor Rao Graham comes in, I invite your participation in the first of our online polls. And of course, these polls are important because they give us a sense of how we stack up in terms of our reach. It also offers us an opportunity to hear directly from you. And so our first poll is going to be, yes, it's up. Thank you very much. How did you hear about today's webinar? And that's the first poll. How did you hear about today's webinar? And we're going to allow just a few seconds for you to respond. Please do so. It gives us an opportunity to hear back from you the different ways in which we are reaching out and we're in fact getting connected with you. So I'll allow just a few more seconds. And I'm hoping that those of you who are here with us, you will in fact take part in this poll. And I'm looking forward to see the response. While we're waiting on those of you to wrap up the poll, and thank you very much. Just to note that we are also on Facebook. And so we invite you all to join us on our various social media platforms. I don't see the results of the poll. Excellent. Oh, interesting. So it seems a majority of you actually heard about this webinar through email. 60% in fact heard about the webinar through email, another 28% through social media, and 18% through our website. So that's excellent. Thank you so much for participating. And so I now invite Professor Raul Graham, who's already up, to give her overview of the programs. I invite you where possible, please, pens or pencils. And as she speaks, feel free to send your questions through our chat. Okay, over to you, Professor Raul Graham.
Thank you, Dr. Mintakoy, and welcome everyone. I know everyone else welcomed you, but I have to also welcome you myself and can really congratulate you for beginning the journey, and you have chosen a good place to do that. So welcome, and we look forward to seeing you in August. What I want to do briefly today is just provide a quick overview of the school itself, very quick, and then we'll discuss in more details particular graduate programs that we offer here at MSBM. And we want to give you the opportunity to get your questions answered. So I'll try to be as brief as possible, but as I go through again, as Dr. Mintakoy pointed out, you can just ask your questions in the Q&A and the various forums on the various mediums that we're using. So just a little bit about MSBM. It is a key plank of the University of the West Indies MONA value proposition. And we are recognized locally within Jamaica, but also regionally and internationally. We are degree programs in business and management. And not only do we offer these degree programs, but we also provide consultancy services and research for both relevant problems internationally, but also for institutions within our region. Dr. McBean would have spoken to this. We really think that our recognitions and awards that we've received do demonstrate the quality of the school and of our graduate programs. So we spoke to the fact that our MBA program is internationally accredited by the Association of MBAs. And we've also had a number of recognitions of our MSc and MBA programs in the Ed Universal ranking. We've been in the top 10% in Latin America. We've also, as a school, received a number of awards, the award for Best of Chamber Small Enterprise. We've been recognized as by the Project Management Organization. So we really do view these as just additional support for the quality of our school. In terms of our vision, our vision is to be an excellent, globally recognized business school, but rooted in the Caribbean. And we try to ensure that this vision comes out in how we've designed the curriculum of our graduate programs. So you'll see that our graduate programs, the courses that make up these programs, have both a local, regional, and international theme and context to them. In terms of the graduate programs that we offer here at the school, we have the MBA, and then we have a number of MSc programs: accounting, marketing and data analytics, enterprise risk management, national security and strategic studies, computer-based management information systems, corporate finance, and logistics and supply chain management. So you have a lot of choice, and you just really want to determine which one is most suited for your long-term goals. In terms of the duration of these programs, most of our programs are offered on a part-time basis. This means a 24-month period. We have two programs, the accounting and the corporate finance, that can also be taken as a full-time program. Now, I just want to point out here that for us, the full-time means the number of courses you're taking at a particular point in time so that you can finish within that duration. However, the courses will still be offered in the evening and on weekends to facilitate those of you that are working. I also have to point out here that if it turns out that we don't get the demand that we need to offer a program, we may have to cancel that offering of the program. So we typically look at a minimum of about 20 for our cohort sizes. So as the applications come in, we see how those progress. In terms of our entry requirements, we, as a school, a graduate school, we conform to the requirements of the University of the West Indies Graduate Studies, the Office of Graduate Studies. And their requirement is a minimum of a 2.5 GPA. Certain programs also have additional requirements that I'll speak to shortly. If you have a GPA that is lower than 2.5, there are cases that we'd consider you, but we typically would have to do an interview, and you'll have some additional certifications and more recent certifications that would improve the profile of your entry requirements. So as I said before, all programs require the minimum of the 2.5 GPA, but for one, the MBA has an additional requirement, and this is in red because this is one of the requirements that we don't have any flexibility with. It is a requirement of our accreditation, our international accreditation body, and they specify that our applicants must have 3 years postgraduate work experience. So as I said before, this is not one of those requirements that we have any flexibility over. In terms of the MSc accounting, they require a degree in accounting or a related field, and they do want some years work experience. In corporate finance, they want you to have an undergraduate course in financial management. If you do not have that course, you will have the opportunity to be able to do that course before you come into the program. The ERM has a higher GPA. They require 3.0, and you must have a bachelor's degree in a quantitative discipline. The CBMIS has 3 years work experience, and they may be required for an interview, which some of the other programs will also require. In the MSc National Security, you have to have a mid-management level position in security, and we usually prefer some amount of work experience. And so the various programs will have specified what that work experience is and what is required. And the MSc Marketing and Data Analytics requires some quantitative courses to come into the program. So you can look through those. As I said, if you need any clarification on any of these, we have our coordinators online that can help assist you with these entry requirements. The start date of these programs for the MBA, we start the MBA a little early because, as we'll describe shortly, we have a foundational period. So we require the MBA students to come in at the start of August, whereas the MSc programs coordinate with the rest of the university calendar, and they start at the beginning of September. In terms of the times of the delivery, most of the programs are offered in the evenings. And when we say evenings, the classes are typically held from 5:30 to 9 p.m. The CBMIS program does require you coming in on Saturdays. We know that is a little restrictive for some, but as we have it scheduled now, you will be required to be available on Saturdays to come to classes. The MBA has an alternate option of Sunday delivery. So it's not evenings and, it's an or. It's an evening option or a Sunday option. And once you choose one of those options, we typically ask you to stay in that option. So we don't want people jumping from Sundays to evenings. If you choose the Sunday option, you will be required to come, I think, 7:30 to 5. The coordinators will correct me if I'm wrong, but it will require a full day commitment on that Sunday. This Sunday delivery has become quite popular because students sometimes prefer to just give up one Sunday rather than a few evenings in the week. So I spoke to this already, the times, the MSc Corporate Finance, there is Sunday option from 10 to 5 for the part-time. And if you are doing the full-time, you will have to be available on that Sunday, but also a Wednesday morning or evening. So just be aware of that. As I said before, we do this to facilitate those of you that would have full-time jobs, but still want to carry a full-time load. So it is a lot to take on. And so you have to ensure you have the commitment of the family, the work, to be able to take on this full-time load while working full-time. And the logistics and marketing and data analytics is on Sundays from 10 to 5. In terms of the MBA delivery, it is designed in what we call three phases. And those three phases are an immersion phase, what we call a concepts phase, and then finally the execution phase. The immersion phase is that what a foundational period where you come in August, and during this immersion period of 1 month, you will be required to come 3 to 4 evenings a week plus all day Sunday. So in that period, both the evening group and the Sunday group will all be together during that first month of immersion. And we think this is an important phase of the program. Some of you have been out for a while and maybe need to go back only to taking on a degree program, especially at the graduate level. So it allows you a little time to, I guess, wet your feet, but also to meet your peers. And you're going to see shortly that your peers are going to become almost like family. I think that's one of the strengths of our program. Most of the cohorts, when they leave here with a very, very important network that they usually last a lifetime. So that is the immersion period. You then go on to the concepts, which is the 11 core courses of the program, plus 4 concentration modules. What are those 4 concentration modules? As you probably know by now, we offer at the back end of our program, of the MBA program, you get to choose a concentration. And depending on the concentration you choose, you'll take 4 courses in that discipline. So that concept phase consists of the 11 core courses, which give you the breadth of the program, and then the 4 concentration modules, which give you the depth. When you do the concentration period, you will be required all to come together again. So the Sunday group and the evening group come together again, and that concentration period is delivered 3 evenings a week from 5:30 to 9. The final phase of the MBA delivery is what we call the execution phase. And we call it the execution phase is because this is where you're going to take concepts and theories and skills that you've gained from the core courses and apply it to a real world problem. We know most of you are working already, so it is not an internship, but it's a project that we've designed in collaboration with organizations locally. And so you'll apply as I said, you'll apply what you've learned and synthesize what you've learned during the execution phase. We have spoken to the fact that our MBA program is accredited by the Association of MBAs. And so this ensures another way of ensuring that the quality of our program is internationally recognized. So we're very proud of this accreditation. As I spoke to in the execution phase of the MBA, all our MSc programs also have some kind of final or field project, which again, the idea is to synthesize the concepts and skills that you've gained throughout the program and apply it to a real world problem. We have got a lot of interest from organizations locally and even regionally, and they're very happy about this component of our program. And they've really worked with us closely to ensure that the students are solving these real world problems. And just to wrap up, if none of these programs appeal to you or you don't have the time to invest in a full degree program, we also have a professional services unit. And that professional services unit provides both executive education and management consultancy. So if you have a friend, a family member who has already maybe done a graduate program, we do still have a suite of executive education courses that we offer on an ongoing basis. So in terms of the application program, now that you've been convinced that MSBM is a place for you and there's a program for you, we want to ensure that you're quite clear about our application process. You can apply, you will apply online. You can do this through the MSBM website and you complete the application online. Now, I want to point out to you that the application only becomes complete when you have submitted all the supporting documents. These supporting documents include a transcript. If you're from UE, if you have an undergraduate degree from UE, then we can, you do not have to request a transcript. We can view those transcripts. But if you're coming from another institution, you will have to get the transcript. And you will also have to have 2 references. And I want to point out, sometimes these persons you ask to provide these references can take a little while to get them submitted. So you really want to be on top of them, ensuring that they submit this on your behalf. Because as I said before, just clicking complete online does not make the application complete. You must also submit those supporting documents. Those programs that require work experience, especially the MBA program, where we really have to check it closely, they will also require that you upload your resume. The deadline for our application period is currently March the 31st. So you still have about a week to go to get your application in online. And I think that's about it. We are connected through many platforms, so you can get updates on our programs, our application period through these media. And I think that about covers it for me. As I said, we'll be around for any questions that you may have once throughout and at the end of this session. So back to you, Indiana.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you to, thank you very much, Professor Graham. So thank you for the presentation just now. I seem not to be able to start my video. I'm asking the host to allow me to open my video once more. Thank you so much. And as I was saying, thank you, Professor Rob Graham, for that bit of information. And I appreciate that it was a lot of information, very detailed, and important information, but not to worry. The information that's given in this session can also be found on our website. Feel free to reach out at any point after this session as well. If you need further questions to be answered via email, for instance, you can reach us at msbm@uwimona.edu.jm. You can also reach out to the Office of Graduate Studies. That's postgrad@uwimona.edu.jm. And of course, we invite you to follow us on our various social media platforms where we'll get up-to-date information and latest information on developments within the school and as they relate to your program. I want to ask you as well to place your questions in the Q&A section. And we have our team of coordinators and other members from the team at the MSBM who are in fact already answering questions. So please do place your questions and comments in the Q&A section. Now, financing your program. How do you finance? What is the cost of your program? And what are the different arrangements that are available for you? Those are important questions. And so we have an important lady who's going to speak with us today about these topics. And that is Miss Merlin Reed, who's our Director of Finance here at the MSBM. And she will give you an overview, important financial information. Over to you, Miss Reed.
Thank you, Dr. McCoy. Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to have you here with us this evening, and we hope your questions rather will be answered this evening by the end of the program. Okay, so just to give you a synopsis of your tuition fee for this program that you may be interested in. Of course, there's a lot of information. Let me say that this information is also on our website. So at any time convenient to you, you can go there, view, and if you have questions, of course, you can send those questions to us and we will try and answer them as best as possible. MSBM is a part of the university. However, the school does not receive any budgetary support from the government. So all our programs are financed by tuition fee, and that is why financing your tuition fee is so important to us. Some of our financial partners, over the years, we have been partnering with several financial institutions to give our students the opportunity to finance their tuition using a medium that is more convenient to them. So we partner with banks like JMMB, Credit Union, COK, Educom Credit Union. Of course, we work with the Student Loan Bureau. We work also with National Commercial Bank to assist our students. And we have some of these entities have special arrangements to facilitate tuition fee for our students. So I would recommend you start speaking out which one would be more suitable for you and put all of those things in place from early. So summary of our program, the MBA program, Professor Graham spoke about that. The tuition fee is $16,000 US, and I must say here that all our fees are quoted in US dollars. However, you have the option to pay in either US or Jamaican dollar, whichever is more convenient to you. At the beginning of each academic year, we set an exchange rate, which usually lasts for the duration of that academic year. And tuition fee for the MBA would cover the ebook and other course materials that may become necessary. A look at the payment schedule. We have a deposit for that period, that immersion period of $1,600 US, and then we start paying them by the semester. So in September we pay another $2,400, make it 4,000, and that is the heaviest semester, and it's because of how early you start. And then going forward, you pay $2,400 per semester at the beginning of each semester. Then you go look at some of the MSc programs. All the MSc programs except 3. So we have accounting, corporate finance, logistics, and marketing and data analytics. These, the tuition fee for these programs, whether part-time or full-time, $10,000 US. And if you're doing the full-time program, then your payment per semester would be just over $3,300 per semester. However, if you're doing the part-time, the semester fee is $1,666.67 per semester, and that is for 6 semesters over a 2-year program. 2 of the other MSc programs that are offered, and the rates are a little bit different from the others, are MSc CBMIS and the National Security Program. These 2 programs, the fee for these 2 programs are US $8,000. There's a little less for those persons who are interested in these programs. They're also part-time, 24 months, and you would also, that's 6 semesters, and you would pay $1,333.33 over the life of your program for each semester. The MSc ERM is another MSc program. The rate is a little different from the others, and this one is US $12,000 per program. And this is a part-time program offered over a 24-month period, and the payment per semester for 6 semesters, and similar to the others, and it's $2,000 per semester, and it's paid at the beginning of each semester also. Some other information that is necessary and important to think about as you plan for your tuition payment coming up. And this is on the basis that I'm assuming here that we'll see all of you in August or September. So for the MBA students who start a little bit earlier for their immersion period, so your first payment will be due by the 2nd or thereabout of August, and then your second payment for that semester is on the 25th of September. For the other MSc programs, or all the MSc programs, your first payment is due around the 28th of August, or thereabout, give and take the day of the week. For semester 2, which begins in January, your fees are usually due at the beginning of each semester, so around the first week or thereabout of January, and so for the summer semester also the beginning of May. I'll just skip over that for the time being. Miscellaneous fee for persons who did their first degree here at the university. You will be aware of the miscellaneous fee, and that all students are required to pay that amount regardless of the program they are doing. Usually the rate is determined close to the beginning of each academic year. For 21-22, the rate was 16,717 Jamaican dollars. We not sure what it will be for 22-23, but usually if it changes, it's usually around less than $500. So you can bear that in mind, but of course it's to be determined, and usually the university would send out that information early before the beginning of the semester. What we do, we here at MSBM charge the amount to the student and pay it over to the University of the West Indies. But the fee, that fee is a fee that is charged by the university, and it's all students are required to pay the amount. It's applicable as I said, to all programs, and it's due at the beginning of the first semester. Some contact information. Again, I'm Merlin Reed, and my email address is here, or the MSB accounting email. You can contact us or call us for clarity. Earlier on, I passed over a slide, this one, which I want to go back to and look at a little, just to advise you that we are a member of the Credit Info Jamaica. We have an agreement with them, and where we can access information on potential customers who of course are our students, to check your credit rating. That is in the case if you're asking for a payment plan, and the school looks at payment plan at the beginning of each academic year. We look at what is going on in the economy and that sort of thing, and we bear those in mind, and we'll work out and a payment plan where necessary, and work with our students. We'll have that ready for you at by the beginning of the academic year, for you to select the one that is more suitable to you. So we thank you for coming here this evening, and of course be reminded that this information is on our website, and if you need clarification, we're available. You can email us or contact us, and we'll try our best to answer as best as possible, and guide you where necessary in terms of assisting you with your financial investment, which of course these tuition fees are a large investment, and you have to bear in mind that it is such. I thank you again for coming and being with us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Reed, who's the director of our finance unit here at the MSBM, for giving us that information about the different fees that relate to each of our programs. Now, we understand, as Ms. Reed mentioned, that doing graduate school, whether it be MSc or an MBA, it's really an investment. We understand also that there are also challenges for some in meeting the expenses related to this investment. And so with that in mind, the MSBM has actually engaged with an institution, the JMMB, to put together a specially designed financing program to assist you in funding your studies here with us. And this is the JMMB Tuition Financing Program. And so I invite you now just to listen to the information that's going to be presented on this financing program. Thank you so much. And so that was just a brief overview, an introduction to the special payment plan that we've arranged with the JMMB. So please again, reach out to our finance unit, Ms. Reed, for any information. And the information is also available on our website. Now, Dr. Matt Bean, our executive director, mentioned the fact that our graduates can be found across Jamaica globally in different institutions, and particularly in leadership roles, in senior leadership roles. And so this is proof of our mettle when we talk about the quality at the MSBM, and we talk about our mission that Professor Roy Graham mentioned, and what we aspire to in terms of our global reach and impact. And so as a representation of the quality and impact of which we speak, we have two of our graduates, Mr. Neil Lawrence and Mrs. Audrey Tugwell Henry, and both will be offering alumni testimonials today. In the way of an introduction, Mr. Neil Lawrence is the Group Commercial Director for the Interlink Group and graduated from our MSc in Computer-Based Management Information Systems as part of the class of 2006. Mrs. Audrey Tugwell Henry is also from my alma mater, let me say Montego Bay High School, and she is the president and CEO of Scotia Group Jamaica Limited. Mrs. Tugwell Henry graduated with an MBA in General Management, and she graduated as a member of the class of 2000. So let's hear from them.
Hi, I am Neil Lawrence, a proud graduate of Mona School of Business and Management, where I pursued an MSc in Computer-Based Management Information Systems. I am the Commercial Director for Interlink Group, formerly Facey Telecom, with responsibility for 18 countries across the Caribbean, Central America, and the South Pacific. I'm also the co-founder for Musgrave Pharmacy and tech startup Growth Tech, who pioneered the Wi-Fi on the JUTC buses. Having the masters, I believed, helped me along my way to get exposure to certain persons in certain positions, certain opportunities that otherwise I may not have gotten. The demands from top enterprises now and recruiters is to have a master's degree to even get an interview. So it's like wiper blades to a car. So it's important to ensure that you upskill yourself to be able to have those opportunities in the future.
My name is Audrey Tugwell Henry, and I'm President and CEO of Scotia Group Jamaica. I made the decision to pursue my MBA at the Mona School of Business and Management. I felt that this was necessary as I continued my career path in banking, as it was my intention to take my career from the management level to the executive level. The program was rigorous and exposed me not only to key management disciplines, but to a cadre of like-minded persons. Making the move to study at the Mona School of Business and Management was one of the best decisions that I have ever made. I have truly benefited from the program, and I would recommend it to you.
So thank you so much to those two really excellent representation of our graduates at the MSBM. And so we are now at that session where you'll have an opportunity to ask your questions. I'll ask you to, those of us on Zoom, to put your questions in the Q&A section as opposed to the chat. And so I'm going to invite Professor Raul Graham and Ms. Reed, who will be assisting us in answering questions. We also have, of course, our team of graduate coordinators and other members who have already been addressing your questions in the chat and on Facebook. Okay, thank you very much. So please feel free to send your questions in the Q&A section, and we will address them. Let me say upfront, in the event that your question for any reason does not get addressed here, we will in fact remain online for around 10 minutes after the session is ended to answer your questions. And again, you can also send your questions to msbm.uemona.edu.jm or to postgrad@uemona.edu.jm. And so our first question is up, and the question is, who can be a referee? And I'm going to ask Professor Raul Graham if you are able to answer that question.
I hope so. I might need some support from my team, but definitely a lecturer that you have with your undergrad degree. I know that can be is usually one of the referees you want. It's two, and I think you
And
can also have somebody from church, pastor from church, and Indiana.
You can have your employer or supervisor. Prof. Graham mentioned their academic supervisor. You can have a representative of a service organization, which is where the referee from the church that was just mentioned comes in. You can also ask a justice of the peace or an attorney at law to provide your reference. And so there are a number of options that are available to you. You know, Prof. Graham mentioned in her presentation that it's important to ensure that all your documents come in. And so the application is not deemed as complete until those have come in. And sometimes it's the references, the referees' reports that are lagging behind. So please follow up with your referees as well. Thank you very much.
Dr. Mintakar, I just want to add, I because of what the point you just made, and I know persons had concerns about the 31st being very soon. I just want to point out that what you want to do to ensure by the 31st is that you do the online component. If it is that your references have not come in, still we can't process it, but you will have your application in. So the referees' reports may come in sometime after the March deadline, but you will have deemed to have gotten your application in once you do the online component by the 31st. So if you're concerned about getting those referees' reports in, don't worry about that. That part does not have to happen before the 31st, but they will not be processed until those come in, the application.
Thank you very much. So that's a very important point because I did note those questions. So for sure, focus on getting the application in, and then you can move to getting the additional requirements, the supporting documents in after. And so another question, if I applied and was accepted in 2019 and did not formally request a deferral of entry, is a new application required? If yes, will I need new referees' reports? I think I can take that one, Prof. Graham.
Sure.
So the referees' reports, let me start there. We usually require them to be done within a year. So that's the maximum period that you could have asked for. So if you are applying now, we would want it to be that your referee's report is something that would have been produced within the year of your application, within a year, okay? And so if you applied in 2019, then those reports would no longer be used to assess you. So you'd have to secure new reports. Also, if you applied in 2019, then you would need to reapply given, and I stand open there for correction as well. You would need to reapply if you did not formally request a deferral of entry from 2019.
Yeah, just to add it, Dr. Mintakoi, the deferral, even if you had done it, is only valid for 1 year. So 2019, it would still, even if you had gone through the proper request for deferral, it would still be considered expired. Typically, you can defer for 1 year.
Yes, thank you. And so we hope that doesn't deter you. Nonetheless, please go ahead and see if you can get that application sent in once more. Another question, can you provide a timeline for when acceptance letters are issued? Okay, Professor Graham?
Sure. Typically, that would depend in, as I said, your application becomes complete once you've done the online application and the referees' reports are in. Once that is done, you'll be marked as completed and we can go ahead and process. When we, as MSBM, make a recommendation, we're recommending to the Office of Graduate Studies that we would want this applicant, and they then make the final decision based on they use our recommendation, but they are the final decision makers. So that process typically takes 2 to 3 weeks. We're doing it on an ongoing basis as applications become complete. So once yours has become marked as complete, within 3 weeks you should hear, and you'll hear from the Office of Graduate Studies and Research, not from MSBM.
Thank you very much for that. And another question, for the 2022-23 academic year, will the graduate programs be offered online or face-to-face? And so this is one of the more frequently asked questions. I'll have a go, Prof. Graham, and then you can come in if there's anything I've missed out. So for sure, we have moved online with our programs due to COVID-19. We will, in fact, as per the University of the West Indies requirement, be moving back face-to-face for the delivery of our programs, or graduate programs. However, we do understand and we accept that there are certain efficiencies and benefits that we've seen by delivering some of our programs online. And so our aim is to see how best and where possible we can, in fact, maintain some element of the gains that we received during COVID-19. But I'd advise you, though, that for all intents and purposes, as per the government of Jamaica's requirement or rules, which allows for the opening up back of the society, and for the UE regulations as well, which requests that we go back face-to-face, that we will be face-to-face, with the opportunity to maintain some of the COVID-19 benefits wherever possible. I don't know if I've treated that one very well, Professor Graham.
I think you did an excellent job of that. Just to add, Joe, also that for definitely all exams will only be delivered in a face-to-face, as is now. We've been doing that for the last 2 semesters. So whatever options there may be as we come to August, we know for sure that the exams will be face-to-face only.
Yes.
Only.
Yes. And so we invite you as well, as I mentioned earlier, to stay up to date with what's happening at the school through our social media pages, okay? What's the next step after getting a provisional offer? Do you want to take that one, or I will?
Well, provisional offer, you would have only got a provisional offer if, I'm not sure what the circumstance was, but it's likely that you would have received a provisional offer because, for example, they're waiting for the declaration of your degree. So it would be something of that nature why you got that provisional offer. And so once that has been confirmed, then we'd go back through it and give you the offer itself. So it would depend on what the issue was, why it was just a provisional offer rather than an offer. Typically, it's because, as I said, maybe your degree hasn't been declared yet, or they're waiting some additional information.
Thank you very much for that. If one has a bachelor's and a B.Ed in business studies, would that be accepted as a requirement for the MSc in accounting? I am a business studies teacher. Okay, if one has a business education degree in business, okay. And so for the MSc in accounting, we usually require some background in accounting. And so if you check with the program booklet as well, you will see the requirements there. Our unit head for the accounting program is very diligent, and she goes through each applicant's information to assess your suitability for the program. If you are already a business studies teacher, that's good. But at the same time, there's a specific requirement for some experience in accounting in order to join the MSc program. What I would encourage you to do, and not just the person who's asked this question, but for anyone who's unsure of whether you meet the specific requirements, I'd first advise you to check online at the MSBM's website for specific booklets. So there are program-specific booklets online that will give you additional information as to what you need in order to enter the program. And that's in addition to the information that Prof. Graham showed and shared with us earlier. So check there, one, for the program requirements. And secondly, I'd suggest that you do go ahead and make your application. You will not feature, you won't have an opportunity without that application having been submitted. So please do submit the application, even if you're unsure about the qualifications. We have our team internally who go through each application, and so they will advise accordingly through the Office of Graduate Studies. Thank you. After submitting all documents, what should I expect? Prof. Graham?
Right. So I think I described the process briefly previously, but as I said before, once all those documents have come in, including the referees' reports, then they would be marked by the Office of Graduate Studies as complete. And then we at MSBM would verify that this is a candidate that meets our requirements for the particular program. And we make a recommendation to the Office of Graduate Studies. And once we make that recommendation, then they will send out the acceptance if that is the decision. As I said, this would typically take about 3 weeks once your application has become complete. So we're doing this on a weekly basis. We go through and we check which applications are complete. We don't wait for March 31st to start processing. So as I said, the time when you get your acceptance would depend on when your application becomes complete. But once that is done, typically about 3 weeks. If you are not sure what is holding up your application, or you feel like it's longer than that period and you haven't heard anything, you could just put a message in the chat and one of the coordinators will follow up to see what the holdup could be.
Thank you very much for that. And also remember too, you can write to the Office of Graduate Studies, and that is postgrad@uwimona.edu.jm. You can also write to the MSBM at uwimona.edu.jm. And so another question, will the application deadline be extended beyond the 31st of March? So that is an interesting question. And I note that many of you are interested in this particular one. So the dates are set, and sometimes there is an extension. However, we do not have any information on whether or not there will be an extension this year. So in the past, for example, last year during COVID-19, the height of COVID-19, we had in fact extended our deadline for application. And for now, we are not sure. We have not received any information about whether the deadline will be extended. And so what I would invite you to do or encourage you to do is to follow through on the advice that Prof. Graham gave earlier. And that is for you to actually submit the application and then work on getting the supporting documents sent to us. Okay?
Right, and there's no fee for applications. So I shouldn't say that because then you'll flood us with applications. But as Indiana pointed out, just to give yourself that opportunity to get that online part complete, and then the references can come in. But I also want to point out, you should not delay it in any way, because in many cases, if you require some kind of financial assistance or funding, they will require the acceptance letter before they grant you any financial assistance or funding. So you really want to get that offer as quickly as possible. So you don't want to, as I said, wait too long. It will cut down on the opportunities that you may need.
Thank you very much for that. And so even as you consider the options for funding your program, consider your place of employment and what opportunities there are for support. So quite a few questions are coming through. And so the next one, how should supporting documents be submitted? Prof. Graham, can you take that one, please?
Yeah, and the coordinators will correct in the chat if as I said, the transcript, if from UE, then they will be already available. Otherwise, you will have to get the request a transcript, and that will be sent to the Office of Graduate Studies and Research. The references, the CV you can upload, and the references, I think, Ingrid, one of you can correct me, but you can upload you send the references to the Office of Graduate Studies, not you, the students, but you pick them up and take them to the Office of Graduate Studies. How is the references submitted?
I believe, Prof. Graham,
yes.
You go ahead, Ingrid.
They can submit their documents to us at the school. We'll give them a receipt for it and then scan and pass them on to the Office of Graduate Studies and Research.
Yes. And so even if you, as I mentioned, you have queries, so our team of graduate coordinators, the contact emails are there. You can also write to msbm.ue.mona.edu.jm, and also Miss Dawn Morgan, who's also at the MSBM. That's dawn.morgan@uemona.edu.jm, can also receive some of those documents. But again, there's postgrad@uemona.edu.jm. Thanks for that. Okay, and so another question, is it possible for a current final year undergraduate student to apply for the MSc in corporate finance? Yes, it is possible for you to apply to any of our programs as a final year student. And final year, I take it, maybe you're at the UE, but whichever university you're at, if you're a final year student, you can in fact apply to our programs, except in the case of the MBA, which of course requires the 3-year work experience. So in the case of the corporate finance or any of our other programs in the MSCs, you know, a question came earlier about provisional offer. And this is where, for instance, this will be relevant, because where you have not completed your degree, your undergraduate degree, then in some cases we can and we do make a provisional offer. And that final offer will come in based on the results of your degree, your final semester grades, and of course, the degree having been conferred on you. So yes, please do go ahead. For anybody there who's doing final year, please do make an application. Another question, can someone who recently completed an undergraduate degree apply for a master's program without having any work experience? And the answer to that would be yes. You can apply to our MSc programs or master's programs without the work experience. The work experience, the requirement for the work experience comes in particular where you do not have the required GPA of 2.5. There are programs, for instance, like the National Security and Strategic Studies program, where we do also look at work experience. And so Where the work experience also comes in is where you are a mature student. So yes, we understand that persons mature at different levels, different stages. And so we have designed our programs to consider different categories of applicants. So if you're a mature student, then the work experience will be important. For you who are just graduating, please do apply. Once you have the minimum GPA requirement of 2.5, we will consider you. Thank you. After accepting an offer of entry, when are students expected to pay the commitment fee? I'm going to ask Ms. Reed from Finance to take this question. So after accepting an offer of entry, when are students expected to pay the commitment fee?
Thank you, Dr. Mr. Toy, and thanks for that question. The commitment fee is a requirement that is sent out by the University of the West Indies. So it's offered to all students who are receiving offer. I think there's a date is in those letters, but I'm not certain. But I would say anytime that commitment fee is due, anytime before, say July 31st, thereabouts. Anytime before July 31st would be good. But I will check, we'll check and we'll put, I'll have that information available on the website. I'll double check and have that information available.
Thank you very much. So again, keep abreast of our website and reach out to us for additional information. A question, which payment method allows us to pay in strictly US dollars? And I think this is a question for you again, Ms. Reed. Which payment method allows us to pay in strictly US dollars?
Thank you for this question. So the students, as I said earlier, students have the option of paying in either Jamaican dollars or US, and you can do both, a mixture of. So you have students, for example, may pay their first semester in US dollars, and then the second semester is paid in Jamaican dollars at the exchange, exchange rate. So we're not hard and fast as to say if you select a method for semester 1, you can't change for semester 2. You have the option of paying in either Jamaican or US, whichever is more convenient to you. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you very much, Ms. Reed. And so we move on to our next question. And it's good that we in fact have these many questions coming through. And for those of you who may have questions and you're hesitating, please don't. When you ask these questions, I'm sure there are others who also have them in their minds as well. Okay, and so another question here about the MBA, I'm going to ask Professor Rogram to answer this, is on, oh, okay, I'll take that one. Is it only the MBA which is internationally accredited? So is it only the MBA which is internationally accredited? So yes, the MBA is internationally accredited via AMBA, which is the highest certification body for MBA education. However, the University of the West Indies is an accredited institution. And so that means that all of our programs then offered at the University of the West Indies would be deemed as internationally accredited. Beyond that, our executive director, Dr. David McBean, in his presentation, and Dr. Roy Graham as well, mentioned the fact that many of our MSc programs have been highly rated by EdUniversal, which rates and scores MSc programs across the Latin America and the Caribbean region. And some of our programs are in the top 10 across the region, some in the top 20. So we want to be sure that you understand that our offerings are really global standard, globally recognized. Beyond that, we also have a team of external reviewers and examiners who go through our programs, both for the MBA and the MSCs. They go through our exam papers, they go through the exams we set, they go through some of the student assessments as well for the mid-course exams and so on. And so this ensures that our programs are kept abreast in terms of the developments globally, and that we do meet the mark as we continue to strive to really maintain that global standard. So thank you. It's a mouthful, but thanks for that question. That gave me an opportunity to give you that information. Thank you. Next question. When do classes start? Professor Graham?
Yes, so as I had mentioned in the presentation, the MBA starts a little earlier than the rest of the MSc programs because of the immersion period. So that program typically starts the first week. Well, there's a long weekend in August, so probably at the start of the end of the first week to the start of the second week, depending on where the holidays land. But once you have received an offer, we will send out from MSBM a letter that specifies those dates. For the MSCs, they will start with the rest of the university calendar. I think that's about the first week in September.
Yes, thank you very much for that. And a question relating to mature students. For mature students, what if you do not have the 10 years experience? And that again is a very important question. So thanks for posing it to us. For mature students who do not have the 10 years experience, I would still recommend that you submit your application. Submit your application alongside your resume. This is important. Why is it important? That resume allows us an insight into your skills, your experiences, your career. And that will give us an opportunity to assess your ability to do well in the program, because ultimately we want you to join us, but we don't only want you to join us, we want you to do well when you join us. And so we will have an opportunity through the resume to really assess your ability, likelihood of doing well in the program. So please do submit your resumes, even if you do have the 10 years experience, if you have the degree requirement, please do submit your resumes alongside your applications. That's what I would encourage. And I hope I've addressed that question. But
Dr. Mejikoi, I would just add one little caveat in terms of the mature students. I think for most programs, there is a maximum number of students that we can take as mature students. So we'd also have to look at the number of applicants, the mature applicants, to determine the top, I mean, obviously with the cohorts, depending on the cohort size, how many persons we can take as mature without a first degree. So there is a restriction in the number that we can admit under this requirement.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prof. Graham. That's an important point to make. So we do have, I think most programs, it's a maximum of 20% that we would be willing to admit under that category. So that's an important one. Thank you very much. So for all of you who are thinking of applying, please do submit your resumes alongside your applications. If you have, you may have gotten some done some professional development courses along the way, and you have certificates, please do send those in as well with your applications, okay? Copies of them. Thank you. And so we're winding down. I think we can move to address our final set of questions. And so the question here is, what should we expect in the interviews for the programs that required for entry? Prof. Graham, you want me to, or you will take this one?
Well, I can start and you can add. I mean, what we're looking at, typically you'd be interviewed if you're on the border of the GPA, or for a particular program, we feel like some of the courses, for example, a quantitative courses for a quantitative program may be may not be as strong as we would have liked. So depending on the reason that you're being interviewed, what we're looking for is your level of maturity, what you've been doing since that first degree, because we do recognize that some persons might not have been as focused when they were undergraduate students as they are now. So we're looking at what you're being done since that time, how you've moved or progressed in terms of your work, and really what other qualifications you've done, and just for you to get an understanding of the commitment it would take from you if you were to pursue the program. In some cases, we may recommend that you do some qualification courses that would get you more prepared for what we expect in that particular graduate program. So those are the things that we would have more of a discussion with you about. Dr. Mintakor, you can add anything.
No, I think you've covered that very well, Prof. Graham. So, I know interviews, people hear of them and they can seem daunting, but don't. You'll be fine. And so I think we will, bearing in mind the time, take our final question. And an excellent final question too. Will a recording of this evening's session be made available to us? And the answer is yes. So all the information that we've given you today has been specially curated. We know we've been at this for a number of years, so we understand the points of interest and the areas of query that applicants and interested persons will have. So the information is available on our website. The event has been recorded, and so it will be made available to you as well. Please go through in your own time to reflect on any information that's there. If there's a question that you had that hasn't been addressed here, again, please feel free to reach out to MSBM at uemona.edu.jm. You can also reach out to postgrad at uemona.edu.jm. And so I want to really thank you all for the questions that you've provided. I see that you are in fact interested in our programs, interested in joining us. And so thank you to Professor Roy Graham and to Ms. Reed for helping us in that Q&A session. And with your level of interest, I want us to do another poll, and I invite you to share and to answer. And so the poll is, have you submitted your application? That's the poll question. And given the level of interest, I'm eager to see what the response would be. Have you submitted your application as yet? We'll just give a few more seconds for persons to answer that question. I see Miss Crystal Hay, who's written in the chat that she hasn't submitted as yet. Miss Hay, if you could possibly respond to the poll so we can get the numbers and the comparators between the yes and the no answers. I think we can close the poll in a second or two. Thank you very much. Okay, so I see now why there is such a concern around the March 31st deadline. But nonetheless, a majority of you have in fact submitted your application already, 57% in fact, and another 43, you're yet to submit your application. So we encourage you. We hope that if there was anything that was in fact holding you back from completing that application, you would have gotten an answer today. And so you will move to complete the application. Again, reach out if you have any areas of query. And so with that too, we're also interested in knowing what is the program of choice. And that's our final poll question. What is the program of choice? What program are you interested in? And of course, the question is up for you to respond to. I'll allow a few more seconds for you to identify the program of choice. Okay. And I think we can close the poll now. Thank you very much. Let's see the response. Okay. And so 39% of you are interested in the MBA program. We also have other areas of interest, in fact, all of our programs, which is good. And so we see interest in the CBMIS, computer-based management information systems, in corporate finance as well, in the ARM and so on. So excellent, excellent. That gives us a good understanding of where your interests are. And so for the 43%, again, we encourage you to do go ahead and complete that application. And so we are at the end of our session, or information session. And that leaves me with nothing more really than to thank you. Thank you so much for joining us in this information session. We do hope that you would have gotten any area of clarification, any points of discontent that you may have had, that we would have been able to address it. You know, Professor Graham in her presentation mentioned the importance of networking. And so I want to highlight to you that you're going to join the MSBM. We will see you in September and in August. But as you come as well, and as you think about your degrees that you want to leave the institution with, I also encourage you to understand that this is an excellent opportunity, an excellent space for networking, for forming friendships, bonds, professional network building. And that's often not underscored, but it is an important part of graduate studies, meeting persons who will become movers and shakers. And so this is an opportunity also to build out your professional networks, okay? So as you think about applying, also bear that in mind. And so as I close, I really want to thank you again for joining us for this session. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your interest in the program, as demonstrated even in the level of questions, the number of questions that came through to us. Again, reach out to us. Please, the rest of our social media feed so you can see all that's happening. And of course, I want to invite you to attend our next information session, which is going to be an online lunch and learn session that will be on April 6th. That's April 6th, 2022 at 12:30 p.m. So please do, we encourage you to go ahead and register for the next program. Reach out again. If you have any queries, visit our website where we have program-specific information. And so we look forward to seeing you all in September and in August. I also want to thank our team here at the MSBM, our team from marketing IT, our finance unit, our pool of graduate coordinators who joined us today. Again, I remind you, we will remain online for another 10 minutes, and our pool of graduate coordinators will be addressing any outstanding questions. And these coordinators, they're excellent. They're going to be your close friends and allies as you join us at the MSBM. And so without further ado, do take care, do stay safe, and we look forward to welcoming you in September and in August for the MBAs. Thank you very much.